Yo, what is going on, guys? Back with another video, and as you can see on my screen, I have got something interesting for y'all. It's what I call the JJK Diamond, which is essentially the top 5 units from every color. For those who don't know, or those who haven't played Dokkan or know the Dokkan community, a very popular Dokkan YouTuber does these Dokkan Diamonds, and as I'm someone who's in the Dokkan community who doesn't have the game anymore, I saw that and I was like, wow, this game is very similar to that game. And we also have 4 colors. They do have 5, but why not just make a top 5 and just run it like this? So that is what I'm planning to do. So by the way, this thumbnail took a lot of work. Putting all these characters in these boxes took a lot of work as well. So please hit that sub button, hit that like button. We're gonna get into it and I'm just gonna explain everything. So please stay seated until the end of the video, because I already know some of y'all are gonna be doing some crazy arguing in the comments and I'm just gonna have to explain it. So yeah, please hit that sub button, hit that like button. Let's get into it. All right, so this this JJK Diamond, right? We built this in the Discord. So if you want to actually be part of building these, then join me in the Discord, because there was about 5 other people with me, and we were just going through deciding like who's top 5, you know what I'm saying? And there were some questionable decisions that we made along the way, but that is why I have this image up, because it lists the criteria that if you're gonna skip through the video, at least read this, you know what I'm saying? So first of all of Tower is considered. As I am a free-to-play player myself, I know what it's like to struggle through floors 0 to 70, while the pay-to-win players act as if 0 to 70 is the easiest thing in the world, which for some players like me, it's not the easiest thing in the world, but a lot of people do. That's why for this list specifically, it's including all of Tower. That's why you'll see some of these characters on here, because it's all of Tower. It's not just the top 80, which is limiting it to like 10% of the game. Because a lot of casual players, y'all that watch me that are casual players, y'all know you're not that high. Like 80 floors, like that's crazy, right? So this is all of Tower. This is not limited to over floor 70 or even over floor 50. All of Tower is included, even though we may not have the best memory of those specific Tower floors. Number 2, the limiteds are A1 except for 2 exceptions, that being Yellow Gojo and Blue Yuji. The reason why those are the exceptions for this A1 type rule is simply because these units have their literal kit locked behind A3, and I want to make it fair for these units because they don't even have their full kit, so why not just give them their full kit for these rankings? So that is the plan. Number 3. Old standards are A3. When I say old standards, I mean they're already on the standard banner. So like you should be, I have personal experience of just pulling standard banner units after they've been on standard banners since I joined the game. Like Green Ghetto, for instance. But most of these old standards will be A3. New standards will be A1, because you're not going to be getting these new standards up immediately. Like a Green Nanami, for instance, he just dropped. Yellow Eiji, he just dropped as well. Runner-ups will be shown, and what I mean by that is watch to the end for reasoning / runner-ups, because the runner-ups are the other options that we were considering that could be arguable top 5 or top 4, but they just didn't make it for our list. For those who didn't join, again, if you want to be a part of this, join the Discord. It's in the description, and please don't be young, okay? Come on, lock in. Now, This is the list. It took a long time. I am very proud of what I did with this list. I'm very proud of how it looks, the design. It took me a very long time. If you do want to use this idea, at least hit me up, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, this is the list. I guess we should just hop into it. So we can start off with red. I tried to do these in color order here. So with red, I'm showing you a new image here. And this is the actual list itself, because I wanted to include the runner-ups. As I said, I want to show the runner-ups for y'all. And now that you see the other runner-ups, I think we can start from the bottom and make our way up. So when we get to 5, we can switch back to the actual list, you know what I'm saying? So Red Yuta, Red Yuta he's a Jujutsu option, but because Red Kenjaku exists, and Red Yuta, even though his heals are nice, he simply isn't doing enough outside of his heals for the team. That's why he's not in the top 5 for red. Oh, also, I forgot to mention SRs and rares are not included. So, yeah, that's just another thing. SRs and rares are not included. But anyway, I can't believe I forgot about that. Um Red Megami, he does do crazy stat debuffs. When we were building out this list, there was an argument for Red Megami over Red Domain Gojo or on par with Red Domain Gojo. But Red Megami simply, he doesn't offer as much as Red Mahito or Red Momo. If you have Red Mahito, then Red Megami isn't that crazy or that needed for you. He's still definitely still a really good character, but Red Domain Gojo will simply do more for you in the long run for all the floors compared to Red Megami, whose fault is probably the fact that he is single target for like his actual debuff skills, while Red Domain Gojo, who does these stat debuffs, is an AoE infinite void. You know what I'm saying? Next is Red Nanami. Red Nanami simply has kind of fallen off as time has progressed because of the likes of Red Momo and Red Mahito simply power creeping him. You know, he's just not as useful in today's day and age. He's still crazy though. He is still number 6. I just want y'all to remember that he is still number 6. Now, moving on back to the nice image we got here. Red Yuji. Now, I want to talk about Red Yuji for a second because this is probably the placement that a lot of people are going to have the most problems with. And it's simply because Red Yuji, he is probably one of the best DPS. He is the best DPS. I don't know about that actually. I think he might be the best DPS in terms of raw damage for Red. So why is he number 5, you ask? That's simply because he's not doing anything else except for survivability. If you look at everyone else on this list, they're bringing something into the table while still being crazy with the damage. The best comparison is Red Kenjaku. You can argue that Red Kenjaku is the Jujutsu version of Red Yuji. But the difference between them is simply that Red Kenjaku is like he gives a lot of good debuffs, not a lot, but it's still a hefty amount of debuffs. I believe it's 60%. While Red Yuji is not doing any of that, so he's not really contributing to the team in that way. While Red Kenjaku is, which is the reason why Red Yuji will sit at that spot because his contribution to the team isn't as crazy as some of these other units. Now, Red Domain Gojo, he's simply here because he's almost like a must-have until like the floor that I'm on, floor 76. Once you get past floor 76, Red Domain Gojo and his value does fall off considerably. So that is something to keep mind of. But from floor 0 to floor 76, this guy is broken. Off color until like floor 50, he is broken. He is the go-to. He is not as useful in sweep, which kind of sucks. But he's just crazy and for like 76 floors, which is insane. You have to keep that in mind. That's why I said all of tower is considered. So you just got to keep that in mind. You know what I'm saying? Next is Red Kenjaku. As I already talked about him with Red Yuji, the fact that he is the 100% best Jujutsu DPS for Red while still giving 60% debuffs solidifies him in the top 3. It's just that simple. Number 2 is Red Momo, simply because like she is the battery. She just buffs the team so well, taking over Red Yaga's job. Her buffing, her permanent buffing, her debuffs that she can pull out if needed, and her little damage that she does do decent damage. It's not crazy, but the fact that she's even doing damage consistently turn by turn is just the reason why she's going to be sitting here in a top 2 spot, because she just exemplifies everything that everybody under her does to an insane degree. And the last one is Red Mahito. No introduction needed. He is number 1 because while being one of the best Red DPS, he has the best debuffs as well. I don't know why they gave him all that, but he has the best debuffs, or I don't know if exactly the best, maybe, I don't know. He has pretty much the best debuffs while also being a crazy damage, just a crazy DPS in general. So that is the reason why he's going to be sitting at number 1. I don't really know if there's any other argument for that. Red is probably one of the easier ones for us to grade because the runner-ups weren't that crazy in comparison to these 5. So that's going to be Red. Now we can move on to Blue. All right, so looking at Blue here, you can see we have quite a lot of runner-ups. This one was probably I think it was probably the hardest thing to rank, the hardest color to rank, because these runner-ups are also like they're all just broken. You know what I'm saying? There is a runner-up that I could even consider, but I'm not going to. But I'm just going to tell you, Blue Camo. He is also somebody that you could consider a runner-up, but I didn't want to have more than 5 because 5 was already crazy enough to talk about, right? So let's start off with Blue Miguel. Blue Miguel could be argued to be like top 7, even top 5 before the likes of 0.2. Honestly, not even 0.2, before the likes of like Blue UG and the SP buffs came out, because after the SP buffs plus Blue UG came out, they just filled out the Taijutsu roster too much to where he's like dropped from the team. Like that's literally it. Like he just got dropped from the team. Especially since both SSR Yaga, Blue Yaga, and Green and Blue Miwa dropped, both giving stat buffs. His Taijutsu stat buffs turned out to not be as needed as it was before these characters with stat buffs for Blue came out. So that's just kind of where he is right now. He's just not as good as he once was. If this was made like 6 months ago, he probably would be top 5. But now that these other Taijutsu buffers have come out, he's just not needed. Now, number 2, Blue Inamaki. Now, all 4 of these characters that I'm showing right now, you can argue every single one of these people being top 5 or number 5. You can argue every single one of them being number 5. So the order for specifically Blue in the options category, the honorable mentions, is not like really locked in except for Miguel. Miguel will always be last out of these options, but these are all going to be interchangeable. So Blue Inamaki, he's a crazy debuffer. Him and Team Ghetto are, I think they have the same amount. Inamaki might have a little more, but we'll get to why Blue Ghetto is probably a little better than him. But Inamaki just does an insane amount of damage. It's not that craziest, but he does do really good amount of damage while putting on debuffs that the team loves, right? He's very, very viable in every team, honestly. I think I see him a lot more in Sweep. I don't know about Tower, but because I don't really have him, it kind of sucks I don't have him. But in Sweep, he is really good. And the fact that he is a standard that just got on standard banner, making him more accessible for people, is another huge W for him. But he is not going to be able to crack the top 5, in my opinion. That it's because he's just not offering as much as what Blue needs. Because if you look at it, Blue has like 3 different stat debuffers that all do the same job, just with different things, which kind of diminishes all 3 of their value because there's just so many options, you know what I'm saying? So that's kind of the reason why I didn't put him at 5, or we didn't put him at 5. Blue Yaga. Blue Yaga is huge stat debuffer. Again, he is interchangeable with a lot of these options and number 5. So if he is your number 5, I will not argue. Okay, I will not. But his stat buffs in combo or whatever the word is, with a little bit of debuffs that he puts on his ult and his defensive buff, makes him really good. The problem is that Blue Miwa is literally the same unit if you think about it, because both of them have a counter to some extent, like a follow-up / counter. Both of them give stat buffs. Yaga's is a little more, unless Miwa hits her counter, then they're about equal. And both of them put stat debuffs on the enemy in ult, even though Miwa definitely hits way harder than Yaga does. So they kind of feel like they're doing these exact same things. So they're kind of weird to an extent. I do give the edge to Miwa though, just in terms of damage. I feel like I just value her damage more, even when she's giving those stat buffs. But Yaga can be argued over her. Again, it is a very interchangeable spot. Yuta is down here simply because Blue Nobara dropped. It kind of sucks. Like, okay, I am a very big Blue Yuta guy, so me personally, if this was my list, Blue Yuta would be at 4 or 5. But talking with the guys, they were like arguing that the fact that Nobara exists and she's just on another tier to Blue Yuta, and the fact that Blue Yuta has to build up to get to his Jujutsu damage really hurt Blue Yuta's argument to hit the top 5. Another reason, another good thing about him was that he does have that Taijutsu state, but the fact that there's so many more good Taijutsu units, Miguel, Miwa, Nanami, Blue UG, 0.2, kind of just makes Blue Yuta's taijutsu just a like second thought if you don't have any of these characters. But for global, Miwa and Nanami are going to be SP buffed, so soon the taijutsu factor for Blue Yuta will not be as needed. So with that being considered, his value has definitely taken a hit because of Blue Nobara. Wow, I have done a lot of talking, guys, but now we have to move on to Blue Ghetto. And Blue Ghetto is kind of in the same boat as Blue Inamaki and even Blue Kamo. But Kamo just does less damage, has the least amount of debuffs. He has the hardest hitting ult, but he just doesn't have as many debuffs as these guys. But Blue Ghetto never runs out of CE, similar to Blue Camo, and he is definitely pretty tanky. His stat debuffs are, I think, the strongest. They may not, I don't know, but I think they are the strongest. They are definitely fantastic. His ult is a bit random. It's not really helpful, unlike Blue Inamaki, where his ult builds on top of his stat debuffs. But other than that, he gets the job done. So I feel like these units are all interchangeable with Blue Miwa, as we can now switch images, of course, to Blue Miwa, who made the top 5 in our opinion. The argument for Blue Miwa was that while being like SSR Yaga and all these other characters, she has the edge because while stat buffs are probably one of the most important buffs, right? Let me just start there. Stat buffs are probably one of the most important buffs that you can get. And for her, while giving out stat buffs that the blue team very specifically needed, because talking about blue here, blue didn't have any sort of stat buffs except for Blue Naobito follow-ups, and even Blue Naobito's kind of new, and his stat buffs were horrible. But until SSR Yaga dropped, that was the only stat buffs, and then she comes along having the stat buffs that Blue desperately needed because all they had was stat debuffs and damage received buffs. But then she comes in and simply makes everybody else just not feel as crazy as she is, you know what I'm saying? Because her ult hits really hard. She does give stat debuffs there. But honestly, the thing that also gave her the edge of top 5 over these other units is because we're considering Olive Tower. And she is in a similar situation to Domain Gojo as in a lot of these floors, not even past 76 too. Like most of these floors, you need a counter person who can just counter, like similar to the Yellow Mechamaru. And that is exactly what she is. So you can put her in the back of some of these floors and she'll just counter away on the small boss when you need to clean up. So her just being a counter unit that can do that just gives her an insane amount of value, even if that's not like what she's meant to do nowadays. It still just gives her that insane amount of value just for early tower, just for stuff like that. The fact that she can do that in the first place just makes her really good. So I just wanted to say that about her as well. Now we can move on top 4, Blue Nanami. I was surprised. I love Blue Nanami, by the way. Love his art. But I was surprised when people actually agreed with me, like putting him in the top 4, because it was like, he's actually insane. I feel like he's kind of similar to Green Nanami, where people didn't really see his value until they kept on using him. Because Blue Nanami is very, very valuable, because his DPS is kind of crazy while giving damage received buffs. He's kind of like CG Yuji in a way. He doesn't give as much damage buffs as CG Yuji, but he does a lot of damage. He's a very good sub DPS. He can definitely main DPS. So he's just doing a lot of stuff. He's just doing a lot of stuff and just being tanky and not really dying that much and being a hybrid. The fact that he's hybrid or combined also just gives him that edge that puts him in the top 4, because you can use him on every tower floor. He gives that damage increase to the entire team and is a very good sub DPS. So that is why he is in the top 4. Okay, now to talk about a unit that I really do not like. Blue Yuji. So the fact that now that we're considering A3, because we already got that out of the way, that we are considering Blue Yuji A3. He's kind of just when he's at A3, he's kind of just broken. He just is. I'm thankful that I don't have to talk about his A0 or A1 versions, because that's just going to make me extremely annoyed. But with this guy, when he is at A3, he has the black flash rate and the crit rate and the buffs that he gives to himself that he is straight up missing in both A1 and A0, which just makes him insane because it just does. Like now he's just hitting extremely hard. His ults are hitting extremely hard. He's actually getting ultimate gauge because of A1. And I don't know, man. He's just like that, bro. He is just the best. I'm trying to think. Is he no, he's not the best blue DPS, but he's the best blue taijutsu DPS. Especially paired along with 0.2, he will go crazy for you. But that's all I can really say about him because I personally don't really like how they designed this character. But if you're ever lucky to get him A3, then just know he is a top 3 blue character in the game. Now, moving on to Blue Nobara. She's crazy. She just is crazy, man. I feel like people aren't going to summon on her as much because Blue Yuta exists, and Blue Yuta is still a top 6 option for blue. So the fact that she is able to do more than Blue Yuta though, even though Blue Yuta was doing unforeseen damage when he first dropped, which was only like, I want to say 8 months ago. Now she is going crazy because the AoE damage that she can do is crazy, right? And if it's single target, she's just gonna do more. It's kind of just fun how she's like the new version of Blue Gojo to an extent, the old Blue Gojo. Because the old Blue Gojo, a lot of these old Gojos, you would just use them as a AoE nuke. And now she is that, except she's lasting the entire time. She has a heal, she has CE, and she can just go crazy AoE. And finding a good AoE DPS in this landscape is very, very rare. Because if you think about all the top DPS, they're all single target. Red Yuji, Red Mahito, Green Nanami. Even Yellow Yuta to an extent is not AoE, but she is very good at just taking out the entire floor, which is fantastic because you don't have to deal with the little stuff that the little boss does, while still doing a ton of damage to the main boss. Her damage is crazy. Just check out some showcases if you want to know why she is top 2, but she just is top 2, bro. Her damage is that crazy. I think she might actually be the best DPS in the entire game. Considering every other DPS, I feel like she does the most damage out of everybody. But next we have coming in 0.2, because 0.2 is like the new version of Domain Gojo. If Domain Gojo can be top 4, considering all of Tower, because he's not even top 10. Okay, maybe not, maybe top 10 is crazy, but he's definitely not that high if you consider like newer Tower floors. But considering all of Tower and the fact that 0.2 is just a modernized version of him, like, you just gotta think about that. He's crazy because the amount of damage he does in ult, like, is crazy. The stat buffs / debuffs, I don't really remember what type of buffs he gives, but it is crazy for the team. The fact that he doesn't last 8 turns, he lasts like 12, which is also very good. It's not that bad. Like, the fact that he can last half the fight in Tower is better than what we were getting with all the other Gojos, except for Summer Gojo, who we'll get to. But he is simply just doing his job. That's all we ask. So that's why he's top 1 blue. That's the reasons that we came up with. It wasn't really a choice, honestly. It was just like, he's got to be top 1. It just is a simple truth. Now we can move on to Yellow, which was also very interesting. There was a 2-way tie between Yellow Sukuna, and Zonji. So people are going to be really mad at Sukuna and Zonji not being 5. I can already tell, but I feel like they're kind of interchangeable, but we'll get to why. So first, Yellow Kusakabe. Yellow Kusakabe felt a little bit underwhelming to me, low-key. Like, from what I was hearing on JP when he dropped, he sounded like a Yellow Urame when she dropped. Like, he sounded very, very good, but I feel like the whole crit to get buffs thing didn't pan out well in game. So that's why he's not like one of the best options, because his DPS is decent, his damage is decent, but his buffs can be very good depending on if you get lucky. And those type of characters are a little weird. Yellow Megumi is kind of like Yellow Urame, but like more in bursts. Yellow Urame is more, what do you call it? Just more consistent with the damage received buffs, which is why she's definitely at number 4 for us. But Yellow Megumi, wow, I can't speak. Yellow Megumi is definitely a very good option, a very good nuker if you need a nuker even off color. for things like tower and whatnot, because when he gets in that domain, he cannot be hit unless you're playing sweep. So he is very good for just off-color stuff. He's very good in the early portions of tower as well, just to get them nukes out with him and a blue Gojo combo. That combo is gonna be insane. So that's why he's here. He's just a good unit, man. But he's top 7. Now for Yellow Sukuna, Zonji, and Shoko, I feel like I can say they're interchangeable. Maybe just Yellow Sukuna and Zonji, but you could put them at top 5 and I wouldn't be mad. Reason why is Yellow Sukuna is an insane jujutsu damage for yellow. Like, very, very good. But the thing that holds him back in my eyes is the fact that his ult is single target. That, like, the fact that he doesn't do that much AoE damage kind of hurts. And the reason why I say that is because of Yellow Yuta. You can also argue that Yellow Yuta is not AoE as well. I mean, he also has the skill 2. Both of them have skill 2s that are AoE. And first of all, Yellow Yuta's AoE does do way more than Yellow Sukuna's, but that's not the main argument why Yellow Yuta is at number 3 and he's barely top 5. The main reason why is because Yellow Yuta is hybrid. And because of that, he can do all floors. So he kind of takes both Sukuna and Zonji's jobs. He takes both of them and kind of just runs away with it. So that's kind of the reason why, because you can argue that both Yellow Sukuna and Zonji are better individually than Yuta, except for the fact that, of course, Yuta can heal and he can do both Jujutsu and Taijutsu. So for most players, why summon on 2 characters when you can just get Yellow Yuta who can do both at a very good rate, which is the reason why Sukuna is going to be at number 6. And for the other character at number 6, Zonji, the fact that he's number 6 and it's been like a year and a half since he dropped is very, very good. He's very, very good. He's a very, very good unit. You know, that taijutsu damage that he does is fantastic. He was probably a top 5 option until Yellow Yuta dropped, because what other yellow taijutsu were you using? That was mainly the point. There was no other taijutsu. But now that Tower has moved on, Sweep has moved on, he is starting to show holes in just his defenses, but he can still pump out an insane amount of damage. He's still that unit. He is still that guy. He's still crazy. But now moving on to Yellow Shoko, people may be wondering why she's so high, and that's because let me start over. People may be wondering why she's so high because Yellow Gojo is top 2. So like, why is she here? But that's because she offers something that Yellow Gojo doesn't really offer, and that is 3 huge team heals. That's all I got to say, bro. Those team heals can make or break a run. Yellow Gojo isn't offering that. Her stat buffs are very good. They're not as good as Yellow Gojo's, but they're very good. She is a standard unit that will be on standard banner soon. So that is another thing that you have to keep in your mind. She's going to be accessible for everybody very soon. And she gives good ult gauge. She's just a very good unit, man. I don't know. That's why I just put her at 5, because I feel like the other units, they're dropped because of Yellow Yuta, but Yellow Yuta just takes them down way more than Shoko does, because while Yellow Yuta and Zonji and Sukuna are 3 limiteds, Shoko is a standard. So that's why she's at 5. Urame at 4. When I first read her kit, I was confused because I didn't really see the auto skills for real. But when I read the auto skills, I realized how broken she really is, because she's offering very good damage increases on the boss, like Yellow Megumi, but at a more consistent rate. It's a lower rate, but it's definitely way more consistent. And the frostbite that she has is a very underrated ability as well. So people need to keep that in consideration. That frostbite can really mess up the enemy boss and can really help you out with your run. So that's why she's there. Just a damage increase in general. Her synergy with Sukuna, wow, I can't speak. Her synergy with Sukuna is not the greatest, but with Yuta, she's definitely good. And the fact that she's AoE, very needed for floor 90. Gonna be very good for a lot of lower floors as well, because she's AoE and she doesn't have to deal with a lot of stuff. That's just the reason why she's at that level. She can also heal herself, so she won't be dying easily in case Shoko doesn't heal, or if you're running with Yellow Gojo. So that is the reason why she's at that level. Now I can get to my personal GOAT, Yellow Yuta. Um, it's literally just that he's hybrid. Like, the fact that he's hybrid while doing damage comparable to the two yellow DPS that we had been running until now is the reason why he's at this level. Like, his damage is very good. He can do AoEs, which is very good. He meshes well with a lot of characters, just in general. Just a very good DPS that can be ran on both Jujutsu and Taijutsu teams because, of course, he is a mixed damage dealer, and that makes him synergize very well with the number one unit for Yellow, which is going to be Yellow Yaga, who I will have to talk about because a lot of people are not going to understand why he's number one, but we'll get to that. But I don't have to spend much time on Yellow Yuta. You know why he's at number 3. He just doesn't have to deal with Jujutsu floors or Taijutsu floors. He can just do both easily, very easily. And his damage drop off between him and these two other DPS is not big at all. You could argue that he does more at certain points of a fight. So yeah, that's why Yellow Yuta is here. Now we can move on to Yellow Gojo. And this is, of course, A3 Yellow Gojo. Even A0 Yellow Gojo is still kind of just broken. He is Shoko, but I don't know if I can say better. That's the reason why Yellow Shoko made it to 5. It's because while Gojo gives more buffs, gives more ultimate gauge, CE, while he does those 3 things better or just has it compared to Shoko, he is going to leave the battlefield eventually. Now, you can prolong his leave way farther than any other Gojo can, but he is going to have to leave eventually. But the reason why Shoko made the top 5 is because you can just bring Shoko in after, which is kind of funny. But Yellow Gojo's buffs are fantastic. He just works really well for the team. He's like Momo, except he's not doing damage, but he just brings so much to the table that you have to put him at number 2. So that is why we put him at number 2. He's A3 Gojo is just crazy. That's just the reason. And then Yellow Yaga. Now, just to preface Yellow Yaga, what is Yellow without Yaga? That's literally the question. Without Yaga, what does Yellow have? Because if you think about it, Yellow doesn't have any other debuffs. Not a single other type of stat debuff other than Yellow Yaga. And it's kind of crazy that the game has avoided stat debuffs on Yellow. It's like they really want Yellow Yaga to last for so long. And it's valid because for a unit that's kind of just getting old, his damage is still really good. For such an old unit, his damage is still really good. His ult is very good. You can still cycle ults using the rec. I forgot what the rec bit's called, but you can still cycle ults very repeatedly because he's hitting crits. He's doing a very good amount of damage with his skill 3, which is skill 3 that you should be using all the time. His damage, he's tanking really well. Wow, I keep on getting messages, you're joking. But his damage debuffs are fantastic. They just are fantastic. And this is all Yellow has. Without Yaga, what is Yellow? So he has to be number 1. He simply has to, because unlike every other character in these top 5s that I've had, nobody else does his job. Nobody. Like, okay, I'm trying to think. Is there any other character in this top 5 that has a job that nobody else does? No. Yellow is one of those colors that still is relying on one unit to do one job, and that's stat debuff and be a sub DPS. The fact that he's a sub DPS is what makes him crazy, to be honest. If he was like Green Gakuganji, where he can't tank, doesn't do damage, but has stat debuffs, he would not be in the top 5. But the fact that he can tank, has great sub DPS damage, and is the only stat debuffer, just puts him in number 1, and it's not even close. Until they drop a stat debuffer, he will remain on number 1, and that's just my argument for y'all. All right, finally we have green. This video is going to be super long, but yeah, we can talk about green for, I guess, the last color. And with green, we're going to start off with, wow, I forgot to pull up the options unit. It's my fault. who was I gonna put here? I'm pretty sure I'm missing a character on my screen, but on your screen, you're probably gonna see all the characters that I did put in this section. But I suppose I'll start off with Green EDG. Wow. So Green EDG, he's a character. I'll say that he's definitely a character. They did drop him very, very recently, and my first impressions is that he is definitely hugely focused on Green Jujutsu. And Green Jujutsu is kind of just in a weird spot, right? So with Green Jujutsu, there is not many floors for them. I feel like yeah, there's just not many floors. Even the sweep boss is not really catered to Jujutsu at all. It's more like a Taijutsu boss as of right now. So Green Jujutsu is not Green, yeah, I keep on saying it. Green Jujutsu is not strong right now. And that's why it feels like him dropping right now is not really as helpful because it just feels like he's a Haijo buff. And that there's some positives to that, but it's not the greatest. You can possibly use his damage increase buffs. I believe it's 100% the max, which is very good. You can use his ultimate gauge buffs, which is also very good. But he is a stat buffer at the end of the day, and that's what you want to be using him for. So using him for any of that other stuff is kind of just like a meh thing, or like you just want to use another option at that point, which is where Shoko and Miwa come in. So it kind of feels like he just dropped at the wrong time. He's not going to have a really good spot in the meta for a long time. But I'm going to put him solidly at 7 because I feel like there's nobody else that's really doing anything because Haijo has very much so fallen off. I don't know, man. He's just not as good as he once was. He's still very useful though, because we are taking into consideration Olive Tower. He is very good still, but in terms of main meta, he's just not the greatest. There are just other better options that actually can run teams around other better characters than him right now. So that's why he's not even on the list. Now we can move on to Green Toto. Now, I know it's going to look like he's very low, but I can explain why. It's simply because of the amount of taijutsu Green has, that being Nanami and Yuji. Green Toto is very reliant on a Black Flash unit, and because Nanami is more of a main DPS and Toto's more of a main DPS, that's why them working together isn't always the greatest fit. And you might look at CG Yuji as that unit, but CG Yuji doesn't really Black Flash that much outside of ult, which is also a thing that will hold back Green Toto and his development. And the last thing is that the old Green Yuji is the old Green Yuji. He is definitely a usable character, but no one wants to be using him when there is a free CG Yuji. Well, he was free. For those who didn't log in time, you're just a very new player, so that kind of sucks. But the free CG Yuji is just going to be the best option ever. You don't really want to be using the old Green Yuji. So that's why Toto's kind of just lost his value. The fact that Green Miwa, Green Yuji, and Green Anami exist kind of just really don't help him. Green Anami just has taken over his main DPS role, and Green Anami has the buffers to surround himself with that. Like, if Green Megami didn't exist, then we'd have Green Ghetto, which would force more of a main taijutsu option because Green Ghetto cannot do both types of debuffs. And with that being said, Green Ghetto, he works very well with Green Toto because he can only do taijutsu buffs. So you wouldn't really be able to run Jujutsu or like a mixed DPS. I mean, you can obviously still can, but he'd only be receiving the taijutsu end of the debuffs, you know what I'm saying? But now that Green Megami exists and there's just all these characters that do both Jujutsu and taijutsu, Green Toto has definitely taken a fall off the cliff. Now, moving on. Green Shoko. I actually put her in a shared spot, but in the actual official list, she's not gonna really be there. I might like actually edit this in when I'm done like actually yapping because I'm doing a lot of talking right now. But I may edit this and put both Green Shoko and Green Miwa in a split box here because they're kind of in a interesting situation. Okay, so Green Miwa does actual damage, right? Shoko doesn't do any damage whatsoever, while Green Miwa does a lot of good taijutsu damage, meaning that when she's on a taijutsu team, she's gonna go crazy, right? Her damage is very, very good. If you just watch the videos, it scales way higher than I thought it would. And she also gives stat buffs to both Jujutsu and Taijutsu, unlike Ijiji, which makes her on par with Green Choco. And while Green Choco is going to be the more consistent option, because you're just using the skill 2, it's a very basic type of buff. Green Miwa, depending on how lucky you get and if you're actually running her right, can do more stat buffs than Choco, which is kind of crazy, because I'm pretty sure Green Miwa's skill 3 is either 3 hits or 6 hits, and she needs to crit to get stat buffs. But because it's 6 hits and because you can use crit rate increase and stuff like that, you're gonna at least be getting 1 or 2 hits that are crits every turn. And if you get lucky and get like 3, then you're just gonna do way more stat buffs than you can at max than Shoko can, which is kind of crazy. While her also doing damage, while her also having a crazy ult. But the thing that holds her back is the fact that, unlike Shoko, she is not getting those heals, while Shoko can heal. But there is one thing about her is that she can also counter. So that is also something that you can look at. She can counter as well. So it's kind of like, do you value the counter or the heals? You would probably value the heals more, but the fact that was actually doing damage kind of just puts her over the edge. So I might actually not change the image. I might just keep it as Green Miwa, because Shoko isn't able to really compete in terms of just damage, and you really want damage at the end of the day. Now, moving on to Green Megami, he's a very chill unit. His damage, it kind of feels like a Momo / Red Megami level of damage, where it's not that crazy. But okay, I'm trying to think. Maybe not Red Momo. I feel like it's more Red Megami to Red Nanami. That scale of damage, because it's not the craziest amount of damage. He can sub DPS, just not that on a crazy level, but he can sub DPS. He has both the stat buffs, unlike Green Ghetto. His one skill can give both types of stat buffs, and he can also give damage received buffs on the enemy. Damage received debuffs, my fault, on the enemy, like Choso. So he's just kind of like an all-around debuffing unit that will give you what you want. He's just very good to that extent. His damage isn't the craziest, but he is very good. He just has a lot of tools that will help the team, and he's very good with Nanabi because, again, he's giving both those debuffs, those stat debuffs. Now, moving on to CG Yuji. He was free, so like everybody has this guy, but the fact that he's this good is kind of insane. Top 3 is kind of crazy, but it's because, one, you can main DPS him. I don't know if people realize that. A lot of people have a main DPS, but if you're like me, you have to main DPS this guy, and it's actually possible. Like, I beat limited floor 3 because I can main DPS. I beat a couple tower floors because this guy can straight up main DPS, invalidating the need for like a Green Todo or a Green Anami, even though they would be very much appreciated. He can, if he's surrounded by good buffs, he can solo DPS while also being a damage buffer. And he's not like a sub damage buffer. He is the main damage buffer for Green as of this moment. And the damage buffs are very, very good, which is kind of crazy because he can turn into an actual main DPS. So he is on the Mahito Choso level in terms of that. He's just not doing that much damage, and he's not doing that much support, but it's like he is in that tier. But moving on to Green Nanami. The reason why he's at number 2 is because he is easily the best DPS for Green. But that's not even the main reason. It's the fact that he is also hybrid. Well, is he hybrid or combined? I low-key forgot. He might be combined. But similar to Yellow Yuta, the fact that he can do both Jujutsu and Taijutsu floors means that he's just going to be the best DPS Green ever asked for. I wish I spent more I wish I spent more cubes on him, because wow, his DPS work is very, very, very good. So that is just one thing you want to keep in mind with him. He's just going to be very good in terms of DPS. And I think he has his own stat buffs, but he's just going to be surrounded by a lot of good buffers because Green does have very good buffers, and even has a free Taijutsu buffer if you logged in like that 4-month period that we had. So that's why he's at number 2. If he wasn't a hybrid or a combined unit that did damage to both Taijutsu and Jujutsu, I'd probably put Yuji at number 2. But the fact that he can do that, and the fact that his DPS is so good, just solidifies him at number 2. But number 1 is obviously Choso. It's just so obvious. Choso is crazy enough. When he dropped, he was so good at Jujutsu damage that he dropped with Kaijo. He dropped around that time, but he kind of invalidated the need for high jump, which is kind of crazy because this guy's buffing, just his buffing, is crazy. It's Mahito level buffing. Mahito and him feel the same in which, okay, Mahito might be a bit better because he is mixed, but they kind of feel the same in which they both have a crazy amount of debuffs and they both do a crazy amount of damage, right? Like, I don't understand how, but he just is that guy when it comes to just damage received debuffs. And he carries green, honestly. He definitely puts green on his back. So that is why he is going to straight up be number one. Now, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, all that good stuff, then you can put it in the comments and I will happily argue with you about certain placements, certain things. Because, this was very hard to make and I wish I had more people with me. We had about 5. But if you want to join up, please join the Discord. Please hit that sub button. We will be live and whatnot on Friday. So I'm just letting y'all know about all this stuff. So if you made it through the video, you're an OG. Thank you so much for watching. Peace.